Have you ever had a lie consume you? Consume you to the point that you are overtaken by the lie, that your reality is changed. You are now obedient to that lie. Your insides, your feelings, everything is almost ripped apart by that lie. That's how I feel when I look at men in today's society, or men have felt through the patriarchy. The patriarchy has also affected men. From generations to generations to generations of men, they have been told to live this version, this lie of a man, even if in reality that's not what it means to them or to this world. Men are victims too. So let's talk about it. My name is Nadia, Virginie, and this is Becoming Grey. To break this down, I'm going to start with society. I'm mostly going to focus on the Western society. I do think this topic can be expanded into so many different strands. So we're just going to go with the more obvious ones right now, and hopefully I'll be able to talk to you all about it in more depth at another point, whether that is the generations before, the non-Western societies, and even a bit of all. But if we break it down to what it means to be a man and what the patriarchal society standards of masculinity are, or is strength, being a provider, being a protector, dominance. And although I do believe that that is very much masculine traits, just like in my previous video I discussed masculine and feminine traits and how we're all a mixture of all, and we can tap into certain, masculine or feminine energies at a core. Those energies, predispositions are very much connected to each gender. Obviously there's nuance to that. And in the 20th century, where many wars took place, it was financially, obviously with some unease, financially easier for men to really assume that role of being a provider, protector, the dominant figure. It was easier to feed the narrative that that is all men are supposed to be. Now I say narrative because in my introduction I said it's almost like this lie that has consumed you. But I don't want to call it a lie in actuality, because this is the truth that many men are living with. But it's this incomplete narrative that men are living with that always feels like a lie, because you're having to perpetually believe this narrative, almost stick to it, even at your own detriment. Now, with the evolution of the financial gains of society, capitalism, and women realizing I have those masculine traits within me, and I don't want to be totally submissive when I can have more agency of my life. And if that means that I have to be masculine in this patriarchal society, then that's what I'm going to have to do. So women started taking a bit more onus and out men in a sense that, this is a quote from a podcast, the research that I did, but I think it's something like 40% of women are financially free. Okay, let me not give you numbers, but women nowadays are far more financially free. They are one of the highest earners. They, especially young women, own more homes. Women are getting married more, whereas young men are getting married less. The way that can work is because women are marrying older. And what that means is young men in this society are at a disconnect. They're in a contention within themselves and in this society. Now, I spoke to my uncles, my cousins, and my dad to really help me with this topic today, because it is a huge one, and being a bystander, being someone that's on the side, I can't be in your shoes. I can't be in the man's shoes. But I can definitely feel and empathize with it. Men do not have that opportunity, or young boys, let's say, are not really given the opportunity or the feeling to feel vulnerable. Now, do I have a lot of hope for the generations to come and the new wave of parents? Of course. But if we bring it back to the parents of my generation and generations before or near me, it's another story, because men or young boys, and this is anecdotes from the men in my life, were taught the bare minimum, right? They weren't shown how to be vulnerable, and even so, made to feel that vulnerability was not a safe place to do, like there was no safe space to be vulnerable. Again, this is not my words. When it came to learning how to treat women or learning what it means to be a man, they weren't given much of a blueprint. And I feel almost lucky that as a woman, even though at times I felt like I had these huge expectations onto myself and I was pretty annoyed at the fact that boys got around to do whatever they want and we had to learn about everything. I feel comfortable as a woman now that I can take care of myself and take care of my family, my husband, my kids, whereas men don't feel that security within themselves. And who knows when that switch really happens, when they feel like they can. Some men wait till they're in their 40s, 50s to even feel an inkling of that. And that's pretty scary if you think about it, because men have almost been set up to fail. Because if you're told you need to be a provider, you need to be a protector, you need to be the strength of a relationship, the dominant one, what does that mean without being shown? What does that mean without the knowledge behind that? Without the trials and tribulations, without knowing what really works. You know, you can say be dominant, and a woman will be submissive, but a woman realistically is only going to, and we find this out now, but a woman realistically is only going to be truly submissive with a man she feels safe with. You know, there is a certain dominance that is not an aggressive dominance, that is a dominance of strength and power. And there is a difference between that. And if men don't have that information and they're let out into the world, they're left having to find that out themselves. Now, something that both a cousin of mine and my dad said is attaining knowledge. So how do you attain that knowledge? Well, it's not as simple, because, and this is where we get to everything we hear in social media today about, we hate women, women should just be obedient and you should be assertive. Although not untrue, it's also not true either. Because obedience and submission, as I said, comes from safety. How do young men learn and attain knowledge? Well, as my cousin said, he was very lucky enough to have loads of women around him to learn how to treat a woman and also learn from good male role models around him. Male role models around him, my goodness. But that took a lot of time and agency. And because of all the positive people around him, he was able to achieve that. And even so, he still has many questions and conflictions, which I'll get into. And my father said, you know, a lot of it was on onus to us, because I don't think, and he's talking about his generation, we taught our sons, the young men today, enough. But we can't do much about that now. But really, young men should be on the quest for knowledge. Which, great in theory. But where do you find that? Men do not have many male role models. men don't have many male role models in their lives. And women tend to become a community and will pick up or be able to help other women, whereas men don't really do the same. And it's more said that men don't feel safe to do so and feel empowered to do so. So we're left with a lot of men not having the male guidance or the knowledge that can help them. So there's a lot of men just figuring it out. And it really has affected young men today. Even for my cousin, who has grown up to be a very, very great gentleman. He even sometimes feels that he's filling in the blanks. Even when it comes to having women as good role models, you don't have the full scope, because yes, you can learn the female perspective and be a bit more caring to women. But if you center yourself around women and being the perfect man for a woman, you forget again about those parts of yourself. So just like society teaching you to be the best man and only thinking about the male perspective, you're really going two sides too far. You're going into two extremes. So you're either losing your voice to women and making women happy by agreeing all the time and losing your own agency and feeling quite torn because you don't have a voice and you're always saying yes, or going completely the opposite and putting women down and being like, this is what I've told you to do and you must do it because I said so. And really neither are healthy for a person's soul, a young man's soul. And that's why that idea of feeling like you're stuck in this lie that you know what you're doing, and being a man is so simple, when really it's one of the hardest things to do. And right now we're in a generation, a point of contention, where what it means to be a man has to evolve. Women have evolved to utilize masculine traits and provide and take on some of those core roles, even though I think now women are realizing that they still need men to do those things. They can't take it on themselves. Men are also in need to balance that out. However, without that guidance, men are finding the comforts of life, of today's society, and that means addictions, porn addictions, gambling addictions, gaming addictions, becoming the isolated man that then social media and society preys on even more. And that's where all those hateful ideals really take place. It's that perfect little ecosystem to brew hate because you're alone. And really, that cycle needs to be broken. And I'm not here to talk about solutions. There are amazing resources that I've been able to find. Yeah, but only through talking and listening to a couple podcasts that have male voices. And I guess really having those conversations and really getting out to society. I mean, society today doesn't make it easy. I mean, it really is taking a conscious effort because we don't have those third spaces that the generations before had. We don't have those spaces where we can connect and men can be more than just height and finance, kind of economic stability, which, whether I like to say it or not, genetically predisposed is what women look for. But the way to caveat that is to be around in a space where women can see the other characteristics of men that they feel that safety, that protection, that security from. That isn't just what you see on the outside, which is a lot of this social media, because social media only gives you a very shallow look into a person. And to bypass and to know people in a deeper manner, that requires having those circumstances where people can meet. So, where does that leave me in this conversation? It leaves me to know that my future children, my future sons, have a large hill to climb. That what has been trickled down from generation to generation, similarly with women, to be honest with you, needs to be broken. I think we are all carrying a lot of generational trauma, whether you're a man or woman. We do need to talk about that between ourselves as men and women, but we also need to talk about it within our own genders. It is okay to be different. It's okay to be two sides of the same coin. We can learn so much from each other, and we can also empathize with each other. Doing this topic on men has made me really look at the kind of male hatred that I even face as a strong, confident woman. I don't know if I put the quotations. I am a confident woman, but it's taken time, okay? And I've faced a lot of pain because of that. But it's given me a bit more of a nuanced perspective into why I have felt that, and also why it's so prevalent in social media, because there is a difference between the world outside of social media. People are not going to go and just say, I hate men, I hate women. They're not going to shout out on the tops of their, what? The top of their voices? The tabletops? They're not going to shout out and proclaim it for everyone to know. But you're going to see it in their actions. in the things that's in between the words that they say. So what is on social media is still within the hearts of people, and I don't take it lightly, because this hatred between the genders is real. This discontention is real. And it makes sense. You know, the generational traumas and fears and everything that we have inherited from the many generations before us has created what we have today. My SIM card became full, so I don't know exactly what I said beforehand. There is a lot of nuance to this discussion, and I've really just skimmed the surface of it. But I hope it leaves you with something to think about. And I guess I am talking to the young people of today's society. But I guess to any generation above me or below me, I'd like to leave you the thought of what can you do now to support the generation that is creating today. Because we are the generation that are making families and building today's society. In that sense, to the older generation, what were your shortfalls? And how could you make up for it? And what did you learn that made you realize now, oh, I could have done it differently, and oh, I see things far different now? And to the younger generation, how does it feel to be a boy or a girl? And what can we do to really help you thrive? I hope this video was entertaining and left you something to think about. I look forward to making more and building this community. This is Becoming Grey.